Hey there, besties! Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to continue the recap of the manhwa Lucia. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy the video because it really helps our channel grow. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get started. Lucia rose from her chair and glided swiftly toward Duke Hugo. The scent of flowers filled the air, and the sunset cast a sorrowful beauty over the scene. Amidst the quiet peacefulness, as she opened her eyes, she found him standing before her. It was an unexpectedly emotional moment for Lucia as she rushed forward and embraced Duke Hugo with genuine passion. His presence amidst the serene surroundings stirred something within her. Surprised by her hug and her endearing demeanor, Duke Hugo wondered if she had learned this gesture at the tea party. In that case, I wish she would hold a tea party every day, he thought. He returned her embrace with a gentle peck on her forehead, feeling a warmth envelop him. Leaning in close, he kissed her with passion, savoring the moment. As they parted, Duke Hugo inquired, "Did you enjoy the tea party?" Lucia responded with delight, expressing gratitude for the gift. Holding her face close, he scanned the room, taking in the surroundings. Duke Hugo was taken aback when he noticed a red rose on the table, recalling the request for him to send a rose. Roses, he thought, feeling a sense of unease. When did I hear that before? He pondered, as his heart beat faster. Hugh. She called out to him. Right, the contract. The condition she demanded on the day we made the contract, he realized. Duke Hugo remembered Lucia's calm words. If I break my promise not to give my heart to you, send me a rose. Swiftly lifting Lucia, he surprised her. Hugh. She called out as he carried her. Hold on, Duke Hugo instructed, his gaze fixed on the rose flowers, searching for a particular color. Seated on the table with Lucia on his lap, his mind found peace. No yellow roses, he sighed with relief. He asked Lucia if she liked the flowers. More than the flowers themselves, I was happy that you sent me a gift, she said with a smile as she expressed happiness over the gift. I'm glad you liked them, Duke Hugo replied calmly, relieved that Lucia didn't seem to attach any specific meaning to the roses. Knowing sending yellow roses symbolized a breakup, he was grateful she didn't interpret them that way. When Duke Hugo instructed Jerome to handle the matter, that was the method he came up with. Duke Hugo didn't inquire about why he sent yellow roses, but there seemed to be significance behind it, so he gave his approval. Reflecting on Jerome's tendencies, he wondered if Vivian was aware of it. Holding Lucia close, he observed her smiling face, reassured by her reaction. Judging by her current reaction, she didn't seem to attribute any specific meaning to the roses sent that day. Duke Hugo reminded himself that breakup roses were distinct, yellow, and only one bouquet was sent. With that matter addressed, he focused on the contract. He recalled outlining his conditions in a document of just a few pages, along with 2 additional terms. Complete freedom in his personal life and a stipulation that Lucia never fall in love with him. Reflecting on it, he couldn't help but feel unhappy, questioning why he had added such a pointless addendum to the contract. Remembering Lucia's promise, Duke Hugo felt a weight on his chest. Why did you agree to those conditions? He questioned himself, holding the serene Lucia closer, bowing his head in shame. Damn, you fool, he murmured. Hugh. Lucia's soft voice broke his thoughts, as she turned her head to look at the Duke, sensing his inner turmoil. Lifting his face, Lucia questioned if something was amiss, asking softly if the meeting didn't go well. Duke Hugo had never felt like such an idiot before, but he remembered Lucia's clear instruction to never give him her heart. In the unlikely event that she did, she had instructed him to send her roses symbolizing rejection. Not wanting her to discern his inner turmoil, he replied sadly, No, it's nothing. As he rested his head on her shoulder, he couldn't shake the thought. This woman doesn't love me. I love you, Hugo, a woman told Duke Hugo, her expression earnest as she spoke. As he remembered his encounters with women, a mix of emotions stirred within him. Recollections flashed through his mind, but none depicted the pleading he sought. What kind of expression did those women have on their faces when they said that? Do I want her to beg like that? Just like everyone else? He pondered. head resting on Lucia's shoulder as he tightened his grip on her slightly, grappling with his disappointment. He found himself pondering what he would do if Lucia were to beg in such a manner. He understood that such a declaration would breach his contract with Lucia if any of them violate the term of the contract. A slight flinch crossed his face as the thought settled, yet he soon realized they hadn't detailed the termination terms. With no specifics outlined, he reasoned that an undocumented contract held no legal weight. Excluding divorce from the outset seemed a prudent choice, he reflected, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. You said you liked the gift, right? Duke Hugo broke the silence in the room, causing Lucia to startle slightly. Yes, Lucia replied softly, her demeanor a touch tense. If you liked it, then you should return the favor, Duke Hugo remarked, a smirk playing on his lips. Internally, Lucia recoiled at his audacity. So shameless. Jerome is the one who sent it, she thought, shocked by Duke Hugo's lack of remorse. Her cheeks flushed red with indignation. Is there something you want? Lucia asked him, her tone betraying a hint of irritation. If I say yes, can I have anything I want? Duke Hugo inquired. As long as it's within my power, Lucia replied. Duke Hugo responded with a smirk, leaning in to whisper his demands to her. Lucia's face turned red, a mixture of emotions flooding her as she blushed. Perplexed by his request, she mustered a calm but firm no. Duke Hugo's expression shifted to one of faux innocence, his eyes gleaming with a teasing light. Lucia, unable to find her voice amidst her embarrassment, remained flushed and speechless. No, Lucia asserted, turning her face away from Duke Hugo. It will be quick, he reassured her softly, planting a kiss on her cheek. He responded as he sensed her blush. It's almost time for dinner, Lucia mentioned, but Duke Hugo dismissed her concern, stating their activity would conclude before dinner. I don't trust you, Lucia stated firmly, meeting his gaze with determination. You say that so easily, Duke Hugo remarked with a smirk, his eyes penetrating her gaze. Since when has my credibility sunk so low? Duke Hugo asked her calmly, trying to ease her tension. You should put your heart into it and think about the reason why, as she told him, letting out a faint sigh of relief. In an instant, Duke Hugo lifted her up, eliciting a startled scream from her as he maneuvered her into a sitting position facing him. The sudden movement caused her legs to spread properly, shocking her and deepening her blush. You're really saying no? He asked, pressing himself against her, his tone both challenging and provocative. What if someone comes in? Lucia asked Duke Hugo, her voice tinged with nervousness as she blushed even more. You're worried about that? Our butler isn't that oblivious. If we don't come out of here, he won't let anyone in, Duke Hugo reassured her, leaning forward and pressing himself closer against her. He kissed her softly, his touch both comforting and intimate. Lucia found his response even more embarrassing. You have to be quick, she told him, shaking slightly from his kisses. Lucia moaned, gripping Duke Hugo as he kissed her bosom. At first, I wanted to do it in the garden, but I realized there must be a lot of bugs out there in this weather, he told her, stopping briefly as he gazed into her eyes, watching her breathe heavily before resuming his kisses. It'd be no good if you fainted while we were in the middle of doing it, Duke Hugo told her. What? Came her surprised reply, her voice trailing off in confusion. Actually, I guess it doesn't matter. Even without bugs, sometimes he was saying before Lucia interrupted him by raising her finger. If you say one more word, I'm going to bite your lips, Lucia threatened as she leaned forward, nearing his face. Yes, my lady, Duke Hugo said, chuckling, before they resumed locking lips. He kissed her neck, pressing Lucia forward, causing her to tremble. Roses? Who cares? So, what if I never send any roses for the rest of my life? And even if I do send roses, so what? Duke Hugo thought to himself as he indulged his desires with Lucia in the hall. Lucia sat on the table, her cheeks flushed from their intimacy, exuding a seductive aura as Duke Hugo continued fervently. This woman is mine, he asserted inwardly, a possessive spark igniting within him. The next day, Lucia sat as Jerome stood beside her, as she was being accessed by her personal doctor, Dr. Anna. So, my lady, when was your last period? She asked Lucia. Lucia glanced at Jerome for a moment, as he stood silently beside her. Lucia stayed mute for a moment before informing the doctor that it was last month. Do you have any body aches? The doctor asked, to which she replied in the negative. Have you had any dry heaves? Dr. Anna asked Lucia while taking notes. Lucia replied with a simple no. They both went mute as the doctor observed her entries. It doesn't seem like the lady is pregnant, Dr. Anna said, shutting her book with a snap. Is that so? Jerome asked, looking disappointed. Even if she is pregnant now, it's too early to tell since she had a period last month. Has she had any symptoms to make you suspect she is pregnant? Dr. Anna asked. No, Anna, but the lady seemed tired lately, so. Jerome told the doctor. I'll brew an herbal tonic for her, Dr. Anna said, reaching into her bag and returning her book. She paused for a while, taking a quick glance at Lucia. As a doctor, I believe the lady is exhausted for a different reason, Dr. Anna said. A different reason? Jerome asked. Lucia's eyes widened, puzzled as to what the reason might be. Glancing sharply, Dr. Anna said, the human body is not made of steel. Jerome was puzzled, not understanding what she meant. Everything must be done in moderation. Please have a word with His Excellency about this. At this young age, the lady should be full of energy, but she already needs to take herbal tonics. Dr. Anna explained, making them both blush from her words. One needs rest in order to work, Dr. Anna continued. The same goes for this matter. It must be tiring for you, right, my lady? Speak to His Excellency about this, Dr. Anna said to Jerome. Jerome turned his head away, reddening upon hearing Dr. Anna's words. Well, Lucia stuttered, clenching her fists tightly. She tried to say a word but found it difficult, hesitating a bit. I'm very happy that His Excellency comes to my bedroom every night, she said, clenching her fists with her eyes closed as she blushed in embarrassment. Dr. Anna was shocked to hear her words as Jerome freaked out. My lady, he thought, surprised by what he heard Lucia say. But I could never say that in this situation, Lucia thought to herself, trying to hide her reaction because she was embarrassed. I see, Dr. Anna said calmly. If it's difficult for you, shall I speak to His Excellency myself? She asked Jerome, to which he said no. I will speak with him, Jerome said, finally breaking his silence. So, he said, clearing his voice as he blushed. How often? He asked Dr. Anna. Lucia felt pity for Jerome's constant state. 5 days, and rest for 1 day, Dr. Anna said. I see, Jerome said calmly. Lucia stepped outside the room, into the corridor. Pregnancy, she muttered softly as she reminisced on a truth no one knew. There was a plant called the three-leaf mugwort. It was a weed that grew all over Xenon. When this plant was ground up, the mugwort could be sprinkled onto a wound to help stop the bleeding. However, the effect wasn't significant enough for doctors to use it for treatment. Mugwort was a common plant that could be found in any meadow, so poor commoners who couldn't afford to see a doctor often used it for emergencies. When Lucia was young, any time she fell and hurt her knees, she used mugwort found in the grass to stop the bleeding. When she turned 15, Lucia experienced her first period, and she was terrified to find her bed stained with blood. Why am I bleeding? She asked herself, trembling. What should I do? She wondered. Lucia told a handmaiden that there was blood on her bed. The handmaiden glanced at her but didn't utter a word. Instead, she packed the stained sheets to wash. Nobody had taught Lucia what the blood stain on her bed meant. Terrified, she feared she might die. I'm scared, she whispered to herself, trembling. Frightened by the bleeding, Lucia turned to mugwort as her remedy. Mugwort was readily available in the yard surrounding her separate palace. Lucia consumed the mugwort plant in an attempt to stop the bleeding. Surprisingly, the bleeding stopped. Her menstrual blood ceased. When she bled again the next month, Lucia ate more mugwort, the month after that as well. After consuming mugwort every month for half a year, she stopped getting her period altogether. At that time, she didn't understand what was happening to her. The word infertile wasn't even in her vocabulary. After a while, she was married off to Count Mitten. It was then that she learned of her infertility. Despite the bruises she sustained from the Count, what a relief, she thought, squeezing her arm to ease the pain, came her first thought. As soon as she learned that there was absolutely no possibility of having Count Metten's child, her heart was at ease as if she had stepped onto level ground after walking along a cliff because she didn't want to have Count Metten's child even if it killed her. But as time went by, after her marriage ended, Lucia began to rethink her infertility. The fact that she didn't get her period wasn't really a problem, but not being able to have a child worried her. Lucia began looking for a cure. All of the doctors she visited shook their heads, but she didn't give up and continued searching for a remedy. She felt disheartened by the doctor's remarks. "You ate mugwort? Why on earth would you?" one doctor asked her. "The plant you ate is poisonous," said another doctor. "I've never seen a case like this before," she was told by another doctor, making her feel sad. All the doctors Lucia sought gave her vague answers, unsure if she was infertile or not. Some didn't understand her symptoms. She went around asking all kinds of skilled doctors, but she never got any results. Lucia kept growing older, growing more worried. "Should I give up now?" she asked herself. It was around that time when a wandering doctor visited the village. She overheard some ladies discussing the doctor in town, praising his skills and how well he treated people. Are they talking about that wandering doctor? Lucia thought, eavesdropping on their conversation. Lucia was sure. The first time he came here, no one believed he was a doctor, she thought. She knew his reputation had gotten better as she thought about meeting with him. Lucia clenched her shirt. The last time. This will really be my last time, she thought to herself. If the wandering doctor says he doesn't know of a cure, then I'll give up, Lucia thought with determination. On getting to his house, Lucia peeks in. "Excuse me," she said to the wandering doctor, but was perplexed to find a man who wore shabby clothes. Lucia noticed his expressions and way of speaking were neat and proper. She was sure there was an air of elegance about the doctor. Leaning forward, the doctor asked if indeed her period stopped. "Did you really eat mugwort, miss?" he asked Lucia just to be sure, to which she said yes. Lucia knew that whenever she told doctors of her symptoms, they looked at her like she was a rare animal, then they would be confused. But the wandering doctor listened patiently to her. Even though he was very surprised, he found Lucia interesting at the same time. "Can you tell me why, when, and how much you ate?" he inquired gently. Lucia felt her hands clenching, a flicker of hope igniting within her. Just maybe there's a chance for a cure, she whispered to herself. "Am I truly infertile?" she asked the doctor, her voice trembling with anxiety. His response was a solemn confirmation. "Is there any hope for a cure?" she asked, the tension palpable in the air. The doctor laughed at her. Lucia wasn't buying the reason for his laughter. "Oh, I apologize, pardon me," he said to her. "You're one lucky lady. This is a remedy that's been passed down only in my family," the doctor said to Lucia as he rose to write the prescription. "Make a medicine by mixing the herbs listed here and take it at least once every month. Take it until you start menstruating again," he said, handing a note containing recipes for a medicine to Lucia. "If it's a secret remedy passed down only within your family, is it all right for you to give it to me like this?" Lucia asked, looking a bit scared, to which the wandering doctor said no word for a moment before telling her he no longer needed the secret remedy. "I might be imagining it, but somehow, he looks sad," Lucia said to herself as she looked at the doctor. Lucia couldn't help but hope. "Will I really be cured?" She asked him calmly. "Everyone said that mugwort is poisonous." Lucia told him with her head slightly bowed. "Poisonous?" the doctor asked surprisingly. "That's what most people think, but mugwort actually purifies the human body. Its effect is so strong that taking it can cause side effects, but it's not dangerous to the body. Aside from your period stopping, you haven't been sick or in pain, have you?" he asked Lucia, to which she told him no. "Actually, one has to take mugwort for a long time starting from their first period to become infertile, just like you, miss," he told her. It does temporarily stop menstruation, but it doesn't cause any other symptoms. And of course, it doesn't turn one infertile. Anyway, it's not poisonous. If you follow this remedy, you'll definitely be cured. So, don't worry, and I hope you have a beautiful child and become a happy parent, she said, assuring Lucia. Why are you buying these? You're not going to mix them together, are you? It's dangerous to eat these like this, the seller said to Lucia as he handed the herbs to her. Of course not, Lucia exclaimed as she took her purchases. It seemed that every pharmacist she bought medicines from had the same reaction. It must be quite an uncommon mixture, she thought as she received the items. She understood she had nothing more to lose as she prepared her remedy based on the doctor's prescription. Half doubtful and half excited, Lucia began taking the medicine prescribed by the doctor. After quite some time had passed, one day her period started again. When Lucia woke up from her prophetic dreams, she found herself reliving being 15, experiencing her period on the same day as before. This time, however, she wasn't frightened as she had been in her dream. She already knew it wasn't an illness and she wouldn't die from it. Lucia's facial expression shifted when she realized she was still living in despair, which made her terribly anxious. She thought that if she knew about the future, she could change anything. However, she realized she was like a young princess trapped in a separate castle with absolutely nothing. There seemed to be nothing she could accomplish. The future drawing near felt like a prophecy to Lucia that would come true. When I turn 21, I'll have to marry that man again, Lucia thought, looking scared. No, I don't ever want to have his child, she said with a vow. Considering Count Metten's virility, it didn't seem likely, but she did not want to leave even a single speck of possibility. Mugwort isn't a poisonous plant anyway, Lucia told herself, clutching onto a mugwort plant. I know how to cure myself, so it's fine. It's fine even if I become infertile now, Lucia said to herself as she ate the plant as the flashback ended. I know how to cure my infertility. I can cure it at any time, she told herself. But I assured him that I can't have a child. Back then, I thought we would get divorced, Lucia thought with a sad face. She didn't think Duke Hugo would allow it. I decided not to have any regrets. I've made up my mind to endure everything, she told herself, clenching her fists tightly. Lucia knew that the decision to not have any children was already determined when she signed the marriage certificate. Remembering the wandering doctor's wishes for her in her dream to have a beautiful child and to become a happy parent now seemed like they couldn't come true. He even told me a secret remedy passed down in his family. Come to think of it, what was the doctor's name again? Lucia asked herself before becoming puzzled as she struggled hard to remember the doctor's name in her dream. Oh, Philip, she thought as the face of the doctor came into focus. Yes, that was the name. Back in the Duke's office, Hugo instructed Jerome, from now on, any flower is fine, except roses. Ensure no roses ever come into my sight again. Jerome was puzzled by the Duke's aversion to roses. Yes, Your Excellency, Jerome immediately responded, faithfully attending to his duties despite his puzzled mental state. Roses, he thought, perplexed by the Duke's directive. Your Excellency, the other day, the lady asked if I'm the one who sends the yellow roses, Jerome disclosed, halting Duke Hugo from his writing. And? Duke Hugo inquired, curiosity piqued, eager to hear Jerome's response. She asked if Lady Sophia Lawrence was the last one to receive them, Jerome explained calmly, and I confirmed that it was indeed the case. Now that I think about it, Vivian was watching at that time, he thought. I can see why she thought I was such a shameless scoundrel, Duke Hugo thought, reminiscing about the moment when Lucia begged him not to hit her. And, Jerome said, interrupting his thoughts. And what? Duke Hugo asked him. She asked why Countess Falcon wasn't the last one, Jerome said, glancing slightly at the Duke, noticing his tension. So, I said that Your Excellency did not give that order for that, he informed the Duke calmly. Duke Hugo's thoughts raced with anger. How could you give her an answer like that? He seethed internally, his frustration palpable as he banged his pen on the table. Jerome flinched in awe, startled by the Duke's display of emotion. He's always so competent, Duke Hugo acknowledged internally, recognizing Jerome's efficiency. What made him that oblivious all of a sudden? Duke Hugo seethed inwardly, his anger radiating around the room like a palpable force. His glare is going to burn me alive, Jerome thought, visibly frightened by the intensity of the Duke's expression. Send them, Duke Hugo told him angrily. Do you mean, to Countess Falcon? Jerome asked, stuttering. Today, right now, Duke Hugo ordered, to which Jerome quickly affirmed. And one more thing, Jerome said, glancing at the floor, which only served to increase the Duke's frustration. Why do you have so many things to report? What now? Duke Hugo asked as he held his head in frustration. It's a recommendation from the lady's doctor. She said you should refrain from visiting the lady's bedroom. Jerome told him of Dr. Anna's instructions. What? Why is that any concern of the doctor? He asked, looking at Jerome. It's because of the lady's health. She said that the lady must rest at least once every 5 days, Jerome told him. Her health, Duke Hugo thought, perplexed as he didn't think all this while about her health. Ah, all right, you can go now, he told Jerome with a calm tone. There's nothing I can do if it's for her health, he groaned as he thought. I did push her too hard for more than a month without any rest. Even though she is so delicate, Duke Hugo thought, rubbing his hair. Lucia's face flashed through his thoughts as she reached out to him. Once every 5 days, he muttered to himself, clenching his fists hard. How depressing, he thought, feeling a headache creeping in as he held his head in his hand. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive, and we'll catch you in the next episode.